coming to the stage next in the junior small group division. This is entry number 23.
I train hundreds of kids who now dance professionally. I'm the coach of the next big team. In 6 short weeks, we're going to nationals.
Hey guys, it's Jordan Sparks. Welcome back to my channel. I know that it has been a very long time, but we are unofficially back. And I actually just watched the first episode of the new Dance Moms A New Era, and I took some notes. So today we're going to be talking about that, but before we hop into this video, hi you guys, I know that I've been gone all summer. I've been doing the most. I was filming all summer though, both on television and film, and filming some stuff for the YouTube channel that I'm just starting to get around to editing at this point, so bear with me. But hi, I missed all of you guys, and I just went to see the new Beetlejuice last night. Highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. But there's a new Dance Moms out. It's called Dance Moms A New Era, and it's being hosted on the Hulu streaming service.
Let's get to work.
It's a lot of pressure. You belong in this team.
So I watched the first episode and I took a bunch of notes, and I've got to say that it is very different than the original series. Not so different that it's like something entirely new, but it is definitely a new era.
Obviously, with this new season, there are going to be comparisons made between you and Abby Lee Miller.
For sure.
You know Abby Lee.
I do.
And it is being hosted by Glow Hampton. You probably would remember her if you are a Dance Moms fan, because she was the choreographer for Studio Bleu that would always compete against the ALDC.
We are in no way ready for that.
So let's hop into these notes. So first off, as we're getting into this video, just be forewarned that if you have not watched this series, there's going to be some spoilers in this video. So you could see this video as I watched the first episode of the new Dance Moms so that you don't have to. Or you could see this as like a follow along guide if you're going to be watching, or if you already watched, just share your opinions in the comments below, anything like that. But let's get into it.
My one and only goal is to win a national title, and it starts today.
You're okay. You're gonna live.
So the first episode starts off, you see Studio Bleu, and allegedly Abby Lee Miller is big mad that her friend Glow Hampton has taken over the show.
Nobody's spot here is promised. Nobody.
So they do mention Abby, and Glow says that they used to be friends, they were colleagues for all of these years, but now Abby is angry at her because she has taken over the team.
She went berserk. She crossed the line.
And I actually heard that she wasn't really impressed with the fact that you were cast. She wasn't excited for you.
Well, you know, Abby and I were very good friends, and I did get a congratulatory text from Abby.
Okay.
So I thought she was on board. I don't know if maybe she didn't think the show would really get off the ground or it would really progress the way it did, but as the show went on, I reached out to her. We were together in the same state, and I was like, hey, come by set, we'd love to see you. And
Come to set?
yeah, she wasn't receptive to that.
Okay.
So yeah, she declined.
So the olive branch was extended to have her on the
Absolutely.
show.
Of course.
Wow.
Abby was the trailblazer for this show.
Yeah.
Let me get right to the pyramid.
So I would love to have had her involved in some way, but she respectfully, she declined.
Don't worry, we don't see any Abby in this first episode. There's no like reference clips back to the original series, so it's not like living in the past kind of vibe, but in some ways it definitely is. So that's the first thing.
I have to prove myself to Miss Glow.
2, 3. I need to keep her on track. No drama queen, okay? No drama queen.
They introduce it that way. We see Studio Bleu. I'm not sure if Studio Bleu is like Vermont or where it is, but it definitely looks like a middle America kind of place that has a true fall where it's going to be raining and it's going to be winter, and different culture than LA. Probably similar to Pittsburgh.
You are jealous. You are jealous. You are jealous.
You win a party, then come play.
You're a
Did you just call her a I dare you to come at me!
So right off the bat, we see this new dancer. Her name is Ashlyn, and I thought that she was absolutely hilarious. Huge personality.
I'm known for like my sass and my face and my performance like this.
There's a lot of sassiness, a lot of definitely like privilege and growing up in a bubble amongst these kids and their families, for some of them at least. But I thought Ashlyn was hilarious. She's super performative. She almost gives that like Kinley Cunningham vibe from XOMG Pop, or kind of like a JoJo Siwa of sorts, but not really at all. I don't know, it's just hard to explain. You definitely would have to watch. And definitely the epitome of kids say the darndest things, because the things that come out of this kid's mouth, I'm like, okay. Kind of like a Mackenzie Ziegler, I guess.
I don't want to go on Broadway. All I want to do is just stay home and eat chips.
My first impression of Glow is that she was a lot more mature, a lot more calm, cool and collected than an Abby Lee Miller, or even like Jess, how she handled that XOMG Pop, if you watched that show. Because Jess had like a really strong ego about her, and like a sense of, I brought you in here and I'm doing you the biggest favor in the entire world, so you should grovel at my feet because you would be nothing without me. And Glow doesn't bring that kind of attitude or energy. Surprisingly, I actually had no idea what to expect, and I was expecting a huge ego, but I guess we'll see. It's only been the first episode.
No matter how they do, I'm like, great job, and then we discuss it back at the studio. You know, when you're doing this on camera, you don't have that luxury. It's like, how did they do? Right then and there. So that was, I think that was most difficult for the kids to hear on the spot, that there were some mistakes. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the kids know when they did a good job. They really do. So I don't need to tell them. They know if they feel good when they come off that stage.
Oh, but you tell them when that pyramid comes around.
Oh, yes.
The pyramid is back.
The pyramid is back.
Why?
So, first of all, I mean, it's Dance Moms, right? But also, it gives the viewers an idea of where we left off, right? How the kids did the week before. If they don't understand, you know, you didn't do as well as, you know, you might have, or you didn't work as hard, or you were late, or or your mother was in my room causing drama, whatever that is. But I look at it as an incentive for the kids. You know, when they move up a level on that pyramid, they're thrilled.
A big takeaway that I noticed in the first couple minutes is that there were kids crying left, right, and center. Some people would say that they are crybabies. Some people would say save those tears for the pillow. But I noticed on this show that nobody makes a huge big deal over kids crying. There's no ruthless, traumatizing behavior or telling you to suck it up or invalidating emotions. The kids are allowed to cry. Shocker. Now, there is a girl on this team that's kind of being branded and put forth as like the Brooke of the team.
Brooke is part of this team. She's been in my company forever. She has a right to do the dance.
Or like how Maddie became the leader, or like how Kalani was being pushed to be the leader of the ALDC. And this girl is Aubrey. They mention that Glow has had a relationship with this child since she was 5 years old, that she's always danced for her studio, that she's been very loyal, that she has given her all of these opportunities and all of this stuff. And it's kind of very much sounding like a Brooke Maddie Ziegler hybrid story. So she's being pushed out as like, you're the leader of the group, she's my favorite, all of the same kind of branding that we saw in the original Dance Moms. And in this episode, I did see that being projected onto the other kids as if they're trying to brand them very similar to how they branded distinct personality types in the first Dance Moms. Like, yes, the kids were who they were, but there was a very heavy aspect on production and Abby herself in trying to brand and typecast the kids so that they could stand out in very specific narratives. Glow mentions that she threw Aubrey onto a team of 10-year-olds when she was only 5 years old so she could sink or swim, and that she ended up thriving. Sound exactly like Maddie Ziegler and being put in the hip-hop classes at 5 years old. She also worked on Broadway, Aubrey, this child dancer, with Hugh Jackman, who is Wolverine, or he is John Valjean for Les Mis. We should all know who Hugh Jackman is, and she also got to work with Sutton Foster, both of them in the same production. That's absolutely insane. For me, that's goals. That's like the man and the woman that I would love to work with the most. So we have another Giannina of sorts. Aubrey is an actual professional dancer before she went on this new Dance Moms show, just like Giannina was on Broadway. Then when it comes to handing out the solos, there was a girl on this group called Mina. She is 8 years old, and she is awarded the first solo of the season. And this is the first solo and only solo that we see in this episode. So I thought that that was interesting, but I'll get to that later on.
I'm over it. Do you see these children? This is all I care about right now. You're all here because you want your kids to be stars.
In the beginning, we see this Ashlyn character that I had mentioned before, the very sassy, performative one, and allegedly she wasn't able to land her left aerial, so they put it in the choreography for the week and told her that she needs to do this left aerial in the number. To me, that's just like creating drama. In the real world, why would you ever put somebody on stage for this weekend with a skill that they don't even have yet? The whole point of rehearsal process is so that you can rehearse and do it so it's so comfortable and in your body. The rehearsal process, the week of competition, is not for getting new skills that you're gonna bring to the stage. Dumb, dangerous, stupid, not wise.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so they make her do this, and we'll get to that later, but it reminded me of Abby Lee Miller saying, okay, Chloe, if you can do a back tuck, you're gonna do a back tuck in the beginning of this number. Or throwing in new skills like that and making people do it on the spot just for the pressure. It's not good. Like, learn those skills, great. It's great to have them, sure. If you believe that every dancer needs to have their left and right aerial, whatever. But if you are gonna put it on stage for competition that weekend, that's just stupid. Then a few minutes later, we hear them say that Glow is best friends with Aubrey's mom. Again, trying to create that drama and that dynamic very similar to Melissa being friends with Abby Lee Miller and getting all of the favors so her kids get ahead. So just to have that dynamic in there and copy that same narrative. And I'm like, okay, whether that's true, I don't know, but we can definitely see them trying to compare apples and oranges here and recreate a lot of the same branding that they had in the original one. So we get to rehearsal, and Ashlyn is given her big moment. She needs to show that she can do this left aerial and that she's had time to practice, and she throws her hand down on the left aerial. She can't do it. Big shocker. Don't worry, Ashlyn, I can't do a left aerial without putting my hand down either.
Tread lightly.
Get out of my way. You're done. This is going to be the first time that the dance world is going to see this group, and I'm really scared. Get it together, or we're not doing it.
So Mina, who is the 8-year-old that is given the first solo of the season, she's given a Swamp Witch solo. It was giving very Presley. It was very Presley of season 8 Dance Moms. It was very JoJo Siwa type choreography. And she kind of reminded me in the beginning of like a little bit of a Lily Ketchman, maybe.
I know what you're capable of, but if you're not pulling your weight, you won't be dancing this week.
Over my dead body is my kid gonna be cut.
Now, it was still the same dated looking interview backdrop, so they're still filming in like a closet doing their interviews with all of these dance costumes in the back and like your little glam setup mirror that you bring to competition. So I felt like that was kind of dated. They could have done something else for the interviews, but again, just trying to keep on theme with the old Dance Moms, I guess.
What's happening?
It snapped. You saying she was a little extra when she heard herself?
She might have been.
Watch me rise, I'm touching the sky.
Then within like 10 to 15 minutes, we already have the moms calling out each other and arguing with Aubrey's mom. She seems very immature, very sassy, very much like Akira in terms of like, I know what I'm doing and I'm not going to be intimidated by any of you guys, and my daughter wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the way that I operate.
We're coming into this all new. And so I just want to know what we're getting into.
You know what?
Asking.
Don't even
I'm
speak
just
to me.
asking.
Don't even speak to me.
Oh, why can't I speak to you?
Because I don't want to speak to you.
And then they're already making out Aubrey to not be a good leader.
Do you not want to dance? I just want your mother to quit speaking for you. You're 15 years old. Grow the hell up.
First of all, they say, okay, it's lunchtime. All of you kids go ask Aubrey if you have any questions, any choreo that you need to go over, any of that stuff. And then the girls say that they went to her and that she was on her phone on TikTok. Give this girl a break. This is like, what, a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old? I don't know. I don't remember how old they said she was, but she's the oldest on the team. And she needs a lunch break. Dancing competitively, especially in being on a television show, like, you need a lunch break. Your lunch break is not the time to be going over with a bunch of 8 and 10-year-olds what the choreography is supposed to be. The girl needs to eat because she needs to go back and dance for the rest of the day. Who's planning this? Who's putting that onus on this other 14-year-old to lead the group in that aspect? That is not what being a leader is about. Overworking yourself and training other kids when you're like a 14-year-old on your lunch break? No. Time and place.
Every dance from here on out is a test.
They're ready. They got it.
So I felt in one way they're comparing her to Brooke as being like this lazy teenager that's going into her lazy season and she doesn't care anymore and she doesn't want to help out and she's just a lazy slug. And all the moms are like piling on this and attacking this girl for it as well and attacking her mom for it as well.
It's now or never. Go! Make everyone realize who the next big team is. Do you understand?
Yes.
Let's go.
But at the same time, they're trying to set up this Aubrey like a Maddie in that she's untouchable. She'll know all of the counts. She knows all of the choreography. Just ask Aubrey. She doesn't make mistakes. Now, the overall aesthetic and the filming style of this kind of felt a lot more like XOMG Pop on YTV or on Peacock, wherever it aired in your country. And it was like a hybrid of Dance Moms and a XOMG Pop, but overall it just had that like something about the original Dance Moms in the ALDC had this very cohesive feeling to it that was very natural, it was very organic, and then they tried to recreate it with like Dance Moms Miami and Dance Moms UK and XOMG Pop, and all of these things felt like a cheap costumey version of the first one. I don't know how to put it. It just looks different. The colors are more like as if they chose them intentionally to stand out and stuff like that, which just reads as cheap as opposed to reading as like this is a legit studio and this is how the studio was when the camera crew came in. So it almost feels like you're watching like a out of the box or a Barney set. I don't know how to explain that, but if you've watched XOMG Pop or you've watched this show, you'll probably understand what I mean. So this first solo, Mina, she goes on stage. She reminds me a bit of a Maddie Ziegler in the way that the choreography is set. It reminded me of that, like, Time is Money. I think maybe that was the name of the group dance, or that was one of the lyrics. They had, like, the money put in their hair. And it was a group dance. And they were all, like, maybe Green with Envy. I don't even remember the name of the group dance. It was the one that was all about money. And time. I'll try and put in a clip of which one I'm talking about. So that's what this choreography reminded me of that Mina was given. I think Maddie was around 8 or 9 when that group dance came out as well. So it was good. The choreography seemed kind of similar to what we would see on the original ALDC. It didn't blow me away though. It wasn't as seamless, and the performance, like, the girl has great flexibility, great mobility, great facials. She really tries to tell the story, but it didn't blow me away, especially as the first and only solo of the show. It didn't blow me away. Even like the season 8 dancers on Dance Moms were like, to me, they were great, like huge leaps and bound improvement from the original team in terms of technique for their age. But I don't know, this just seemed like the same stuff that we've already seen before. Now the filming style of this, I would say it's again a little bit different. They try and be like more modern and edgy with the filming style when they went from Dance Moms to Dance Moms season 8, and then the cameras would be way more in their face and different angles and all of that. And then on this one, there's a lot more held slow-mos. They try and be a lot more theatrical with it, and I just feel like we don't want any of that. Just give us the bare bones basic. Like, do a couple like little bit close-ups. Don't have a camera and a gimbal all the way up in people's faces while they're dancing and trying to do acrobatic tricks. We don't need to have slow-mos and everything trying to make it more dramatic. We just want to see the dancing as it was. Or at least that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think of them trying to make it more like cinematic, like you would see in a movie. Like, I don't need another step up. Or like that, was it Cadet Kelly, where Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff is just waving the ribbon and we're all like, Lizzie! Oh my god, she's so talented, but it's really just slow-mo of a girl waving a ribbon. Was that Lizzie McGuire or Cadet Kelly? I don't even remember, but it was Hilary Duff. If you're a millennial, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was the same thing with like Step Up. Was it Julia Stiles in Step Up or Save the Last Dance? I don't know, but that whole plot and the dancing, how it was just awful, and they would just do close-ups and slow-mos of just awful stuff to try and make it look good. That's the vibe it gives when you use too much slow-mo and cinematic editing. just give us the real dancing so we can see what it really was, so we don't feel like you're trying to be gimmicky and hide something. But this first episode of bickering, the fact that the moms are not even going to take a moment to try and get to know each other, they're not trying to be kind, they're not trying to get along, it definitely reminded me of AUDC, like the Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. I feel like overall that was kind of the vibe of this show more than anything else, even though it's not supposed to be like a competition. It's not like XOMG Pop where you spend the entire show picking out the team. It shows girls auditioning for the team and then they're on the team, and that's like 2 minutes of the intro of the show, and now we know our team. For now. So the youngest on the team is 8. That's Mina. A little different from Dance Moms in that Mackenzie was like 5 or 6, maybe freshly 6 when they started Dance Moms, but I think she was 5 years old.
Jump! Smile! Bigger! Wiggle! People think I'm tough, they think I'm mean, but I worry about these kids like they're my own children.
And they brought in other like 6-year-olds with the minis and stuff like that, so definitely we're skewing younger than the original Dance Moms. And then even season 8, they were seemingly young because the kids from season 7 were already like 14, 15, 16, 17 by the time the show ended. So going back down to like the 11, 12 age bracket seemed like the kids were so young. But at the same time, in season 8, I don't think there was any kids on the team that were younger than like 11 or 12. So there really wasn't any like super little kids other than Cameron, who was barely on. She was just literally used by Lifetime for all of the promoing. But she was barely in that season. Then it shows this girl named Kim. She flashes up on screen and it says owner of Studio Bleu. And I'm like, I thought Glow was the owner of the studio. So Glow is just an employee of the studio and there's just some owner bumbling around. I don't know, it's weird that she's not like part of the show. She's like a Gianna at this point. You just see her and we know she's the owner, but it's almost like role reversal. Instead of Abby being the owner and Gianna being the one that's behind the scenes doing all of the choreography, in this it's like Glow is, I think, doing all of the choreography, and then we just see the studio owner that has no lines and doesn't speak. I don't know, it's very interesting. But the choreography, the solos, kind of similar to the ALDC. Once we got to the group dance, this group dance, I think it was called Shattered. It was very interesting. I like the concept. I feel like you can count on Studio Bleu to go all intense when it comes to props and stuff and using like a giant set piece. Very cool. I loved what they did with the cellophane over like the kids' playground dome to illustrate it being glass. That being said, the choreography didn't seem to have as much texture, levels, and things going on in tandem that you would see in an Abby Lee Miller or a Gianna Martello group dance. Even when there is some like a giant focal piece going on, like somebody pulling a full back split or doing a turn sequence, there would also be like other dancers doing an entire other sequence of choreography that was meant to be choral to the focal point, and I just don't feel like that goes on as much in Glow's choreography. It didn't have as much texture. There wasn't as much beautiful flow to it. It was more like, let's stand here while this person does a trick. It could have been more full. Audrey's mom is definitely like Peyton's mom from the mini team. She's definitely like Jess in that she stirs the pot. She's constantly instigating drama. She seems substantially younger than all of the other moms, and she just has this very like narcissistic, it seems like a very immature mentality, and that's a big yikes for me, but that's gonna create great television for this show, or at least maybe she's just gonna try.
Shut the hell up.
Now, like I said before, Ashlyn, hilarious, performative, sassy. She reminded me a bit of Kinley Cunningham. She has that kind of like kids say the darndest things wit to her, but also at the same time it's a little bit like unchecked entitlement and privilege. And like this kid needs to be humbled a little bit, I think. I do feel bad for her though. She is talking in this episode, like arguing back and forth with her mom and saying how her mom doesn't support her and never supports her. And it kind of reminded me of Eliana and Yolanda. And I'm like, I see this mom being lovely on screen, but I'm like, so are all covert narcissists. They seem so ever so lovely and charming and sweet because they care about their reputation so much. But a kid saying that at that age, that you never support me and that she doesn't feel like her mom is rooting for her or anything like that, that doesn't come from nowhere. Now, there were some large blunders in the group dance, and I was honestly just like, please don't give this group dance first place. I'm not going to be able to watch this show if we are going to the same, was it Showstopper? I think they're one of the legit competitions, but I'm like, I'm not going to be able to watch this show if we go to legit competitions, or legit or not, and fake the placings. Like, we know that that group dance would not have won unless there was like a real off day for everybody else that was competing that day. But the group dance was just not anything special, really. It was full of mistakes. It had a great gimmick, prop, visually and aesthetically appealing. The costumes were meh, seen it before. The choreography was not that intricate. It was not that detailed. The choreography itself was lacking. The dancers weren't so much lacking. But again, there was nothing in the choreography that to me was highly impressive or like left my jaw on the floor. And I don't think that you should have groups during Alice Cone turns for this very reason. If your group and your levels are all over the place, an Alice Cone turn is something that you just shouldn't put in your group dance or any kind of dance, especially in 2024 when it is so overdone, unless you can do it well. And if you're going to be doing it in tandem, it needs to be in sync, and everybody's legs need to be at the same height. Your plie needs to be at the same corner. Your ankles need to be stretched. Your hips need to be down. Your feet need to be pointed, and everybody needs to look in unison, or it just looks a hot mess. And then it shows Ashlyn going in for her left aerial. She fully puts her hand down. It was giving the exact same replay of season 8 with Lily Ketchman putting down her hand in the aerial and us making the entire episode about this aerial and putting a hand down in an aerial. Stupid. But of course she's going to put her hand down in the aerial. She hasn't mastered this skill yet, and you're putting her on stage for competition. And then they ask Ashlyn about it afterwards, and she says, the aerial went great. I felt my hand go down a little bit, but I think it just barely touched. It was an aerial prep into a one-handed cartwheel. Call it a dive cartwheel, call it putting your hand down, call it a pop cartwheel. It wasn't a real pop cartwheel, it wasn't a real dive cartwheel, it was somebody doing an aerial prep and then putting their hand down. Exactly what you would expect of somebody that can't do their aerial yet. I'm a little surprised with the placements. I don't want to say exactly what place everybody came in or how that went, but just the dancing needs to be the part that you wait this entire episode and you put up with all of this drama to see the kids dance, and it has to be great. It has to be awe-inspiring, and it has to be worth watching all of the drama and the fighting. That's what made the original Dance Moms so successful, is that you'd be like, oh my god, there's so much fighting and so much drama, like why does it have to be so dramatic? And then the kids dance and you're like, oh, it was so worth it, everything that they went through, and look how hard they tried, and it all worked out.
Did you just sit here and say that my daughter looks miserable, so maybe we should put Kalani in her place?
No, I didn't, dingbat.
Get your finger out of my face! Out the room!
Yeah, you would eat me.
Out away from me! Out the room! Maddie, you too!
She's crazy.
No, I'm not crazy. You're eating my face!
We've had knockdown, drag out, screaming battles before.
500-pound hog pretending to eat me.
They're trying to remove her from the premises. They're getting her stuff.
Everything is beautiful.
Even with all the chaos, our girls reblocked the number. They danced fabulous. Abby still has this winning team. She needs to stick with them and not replace anyone.
This didn't give me that feeling. I waited through this entire episode. I watched a mediocre dance. I watched a good solo, but not something that I would expect to be captivating a national audience for a television show. And that's about it. The drama wasn't as intense. I loved how much more mature Glow was, especially at the end. She doesn't blame everything on the kids. She's literally crying, and she says, the onus is on me. Like, I'm the one that takes the responsibility for these falls. We don't need a real leader in the dancers. I need to be the leader of this group. I need to lead this team to victory.
Clearly, the comparisons will be made. What do you think of that, and how does your coaching style differ, and maybe how is it the same?
It's in the title, right? It's a new era. The world is different. My students are different. They're very vocal. They have opinions and they aren't afraid to share them. And I allow them to.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I have the expertise, but I do want them to be able to tell me how they're feeling. You know, I have a very different teaching style. And, you know, I do expect my students to work hard. I expect them to be respectful of each other, respectful of me. I expect them to do the work at home, but at the same time, I just handle children differently.
You even say in the show, 10 years from now, your dancers will still like you. What do you mean by that?
I've been doing this for 40 years. I have students who still reach out to me. Students that I only had for a year or two back when I was a young teacher.
Right.
And they're like, you have no idea how much of an impact you have. And I am who I am because you were a part of my life. And that just, it's so heartwarming. They have children of their own who are dancing, you know. I'm teaching some of their children. So it's just really cool. So, you know, I do firmly believe that these kids I can bring the best out of them, but they will also always respect me, and I will be part of their lives forever.
And I thought that that was such a breath of fresh air in terms of the maturity, but it also is like, is this a setup for her to turn into like a nasty, evil psycho going forward into the second episode? Was this just like a nice way to ease everybody in and be like, see, Dance Moms is going to be different? But now we've broken Glow, and now it is time for your ego to come out and seek revenge. Kind of like how they set up with Kathy and Abby. I'm not sure if it's going to be like that or not, but we'll see. She is going to be making cuts, I think, going forward. That was like the little promo teaser going into the second episode, so I'm expecting them to cut this team even further, maybe, or maybe that's just to keep everybody entranced to watch the second episode. I haven't watched the second episode yet. I'm wondering if you guys have seen any of this, and if you have, definitely let me know in the comments below. That was all the notes that I took for today's episode. I'm debating watching the second episode. I'm not sure how much of this series is out yet, but I just watched the first episode. I wasn't even going to give this series a chance, but I decided to. If you would like more videos like this, let me know. If you've been watching this series, let me know. But more importantly, I would just like to know how you guys think that this series compares to the original. Do you think it's ever something that they could recreate the magic of with that first series? Or do you think that they need to just let this rest? I don't know. But if I'm going to be watching this, there better not be any legit, like, emotional neglect, traumatizing child abuse. I don't want to be seeing that on television anymore, and I don't think anybody else does either. So if they can manage to get the drama up so high that people will watch this and the dancing is so good that this show stands alone on its own and is captivating and entertaining and creates a viral moment and people want to watch it, great. I'm all for that. I'm all for any other show that is going to be putting the dance industry in the spotlight. We don't get enough anything shined on the dance industry, and there's rarely a dancer that becomes a household name. Like maybe every 50-60 years does somebody actually become super duper successful. It wasn't until this Dance Moms generation that we've even seen the spotlight being put on dance again. Looking back, it's like, who is the last super famous dancer? Shirley Temple?
Melissa reached out. Jill reached out via social media. Okay. But my daughter still keeps in touch with Nia and Maddie from time to time.
Are you hoping to have a breakout star of your own, like a Maddie Ziegler, like a JoJo Siwa?
I have 8 breakout stars. They're all so very different.
Ooh, those are bold words,
they're all individuals, and they all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. And my job as an instructor is to make it work together.
So that was my opinion on it. I have some other videos coming for you guys, but let me know if there's anything that you guys would like me to talk about. I know that Christy Lukasiak got a DUI. That was something I heard over the summer. There was a lot going on over the summer, but I was just so busy working in film and TV and just being disconnected from social media and YouTube in general. But we are unofficially back. I'm not sure what the posting schedule is going to be or what I'm posting going forward, but that is about it. As always, make sure to be weird, be wild, and stay sparkly. And I missed you guys so much. Let me give you a hug and a kiss. Okay, bye.